Rabbi Laura Geller paints a sharp contrast between last week's Torah portion, Yitro, and this week's portion, Mishpatim. Geller reminds us that last week we were all at Sinai, a spiritual trip so powerful that according to the Torah, every person had their own experience. Each individual heard God speak out of the silence. The revelation at Sinai, including the Ten Commandments, changed our lives and the nature of our people. And yet, she goes on to ask, look where we are this week. In Mishpatim, one of the longest portions in the Torah, more than 50 different laws are mentioned from nearly every category of Jewish life and living. The excitement of Yitro last week gives way to the detailed legalese of Mishpatim. It is as though Mount Sinai and Mishpatim belong to different universes. After the spiritual high of Mount Sinai, all of the details of daily life this week intervene. The metaphor is not lost on us. In fact, it is the very mixture of the great Sinai events with the everyday Mishpatim moments that characterizes our lives and animate our universes, all of them. Life demands that we move quickly, without respite, from the transcendent to the routine. At one moment, we grieve a recent death, and in the very next moment, one of our children calls to let us know that they published a paper or received an honor. For some of us, this life is something of an occupational hazard, but I know for a fact that I am not the only one who simultaneously plans funerals and weddings. We all go from reading an important book about something consequential to putting it down to watch SNL's 50th anniversary show last week, perhaps. Our lives are punctuated by the state occasions and mountain summit opportunities, just as they are marked by the down-to-earth familiarity of everyday routines and patterns. We need each of these universes. We are buoyed up by the great heights of living, just as we sometimes yearn for the calm and regular rituals that sustain us and provide us with continuity. Such is the alternation of our lives that, when fused into a whole, give our existences shape, color, and contour. And while such moments may appear unrelated, they are absolutely connected, just as the 10 Commandments are connected to the other 603 mitzvot, or commandments, of the Torah. They go together much like the alternation of the seasons, the yin and yang of our years. The important state occasions and the everyday grind paint the background and weave together the disparate strands of our existences. The contrast can sometimes be jarring. The great medieval commentator Rashi writes that the link between last week and this week's Torah portions may be found in a tiny Hebrew word that opens our text and then is repeated over and over again as the numerous laws of Mishpatim are enumerated. Ve'ele ha-mishpatim, and these are the laws which you shall set before them. Rashi asks, why does the word ve'ele and these appear so many times? His answer is that this week's endless stream of laws, though less memorable, are all joined to the Ten Commandments in one way or another. They all of them contribute to making us the Jews and the human beings that we are. Rabbi Laura Geller goes a step further and cites a comment offered by the Hasidic tradition that drives the point toward greater clarity. Ve'ela hamishpatim, and these are the laws which you shall set before them. What does set before them mean? The Hasidim answer, these mundane laws of how people should treat one another, of how to organize a civil society, are so important that you set them before the laws about behavior between ourselves and God. Think about your last Sinai event, a time when you ascended to one of the peak experiences of life and did so with pride, with grace, with an awareness of the meaning that was infused into that moment. The photographs and memories will continue far beyond the event itself. Perhaps it even carried life-changing potential. Now think about the everyday routine moments that occurred before and after that big event. It's much harder to recall those occasions. They tend to slip quickly from consciousness. They take up less time and space than the big occasions. Perhaps a sweet phone call from a friend, an unexpected warm day in the middle of winter, the gift of seeing a newborn baby and its parent out for a walk or in line at the supermarket. These are the mishpatim occasions that our Torah portion this week reminds us to cherish. They come far more often than the other moments, but they too have the potential to change us and enhance our lives between those more rare Sinai minutes. The momentary shapes us as much as the monumental. Living an integrated life is the sum total of what we get when we add Yitro to Mishpatim, when we combine the peak occasions with our own private collection of memories and moments. The rabbis teach that just as every mitzvah of the 613 were of equal importance and value, so too is each day and minute and hour of our lives precious and treasured. In the Talmud, it is written, the task of providing a person's food is as difficult as the splitting of the sea. And yet, the rabbis add, each of these receive equal praise from God. We often focus on the dramatic, on the exciting, but this week's parasha prompts us to consider the enduring significance of the more regular tasks of our lives. After all, what value would the Ten Commandments and the splitting of the sea have if the people were not able to find food and water and be sustained day after day in the wilderness? Remember that the presence of God was felt as the children of Israel crossed the Red Sea on dry land, and the voice of God that was heard through the thunder at Sinai is exactly the same voice as the Kol Dmama Daka, the still, quiet, small voice of God. And if we open our ears and our hearts, that voice we can hear every day. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.